Welcome to the third video in our series for the CAT or Computer Application Technology Prac Exam, Paper 1 for Grade 11s. This is from November 2021 from Eastern Cape. Please take note that this paper is a paper out of 180. Most of the papers nowadays are out of 150, so it won't be as long as this paper. However, what's nice about this paper is that there are a lot more examples to practice on. Go look at the video description. You'll find links to the data files that you can go click on and then go practice this question, and then you can come back and watch the answers that we go through over here. So this is the Excel question, or question 3. It's quite a long question, so let's show that we excel at the spreadsheet question. Let's get stuck into the Excel. Excel is one of my favorite sections, so let's go into the Open 3 Statistics spreadsheet, which I've got open over here already. You can see it's over there. Just always take note that you're working in the right worksheet. So we want to work for this question in the world data one, so make sure that you are, oh, there is only one, so that's great. So we are here already. So let's go and start applying these changes. 3.1, row 1 has been merged from A1 to AN. Format the worksheet as follows. We want to increase the height of row 1 to 60 points or 120 pixels. It's nice that they gave us both options. So let's go look over here. So we're going to take row 1. I'm going to click over here and I'm going to change the row height. Now you can see it's referring it to 20.5, which I'm assuming is the point. I'm assuming it's the lowest value. So we're going to put it to 60. Click OK. And there we go. If I put it to 120, it would be ridiculously big. 3.1.2, the heading Better Life Index of box countries must be centered horizontally and vertically. So that's over there. So now you might just go click on there and center it that way. But that's just centering it horizontally, but we need it vertically as well. So you're going to click on that option as well. You could also right click on and formatted the cells and come to alignment, and then you could have set those two to both center. That's another option for doing that. Then 3.1.3, insert a 2-color red gradient fill in the merged cells. So we want the fill of this to be a 2-color red gradient. So we're going to come here to the fill. So there's the fill of the options. So they don't give me a lot of options. So let's try to go to the format option where we can go to the fill over here. So maybe there's some effects here. So we want to make the fill a red gradient fill. So we'll be looking for the word fill effects. Here we go under gradient. So here we got a gradient. So we want a red gradient fill. I'm going to leave that color as the basic, but let's change this one to red. So we got a red gradient fill. So it is 2 colors, and at least one of the colors is red. I don't know if they want a variation of red. Maybe they want 2 types of red, so we want one red to the next. So we've got 2 colors. But I think as long as we've got a 2 color, which we've got red in our gradient fill, and it applied to those cells, I think we'll get the marks for that. So if I do that, so there's a gradient there, click OK, you can see it changes the fill. Okay, so that's the 2 marks for that one. Then insert 3 picture found in the data file in row 1. The picture must be formatted as follows. So let's first insert the picture. So I'm going to come here in row 1. We're going to come here to insert, and we're going to insert an illustration, I'm assuming. If I come here, there's a lot of options. We're going to click a picture, and we don't want to place it in the cell, because if we place it in the cell, it might remove the text that's there. So we want to place over the cells. So we're going to say from this device, and we are in our exam folder. There we go. That's the picture we want. I'm going to click insert. So there's our picture. If we had said inside, it might have replaced the text that's there. So we've got it. So what are the other properties that we want to change? It must have a height of 2 and a width of 6. So we want to distort it slightly. So if I click on the picture format, you'll notice if I come here and I change it to a height of 2 centimeters, you'll notice that it automatically changes the width, which means its aspect ratio is locked. So I'm going to click on this over here to go get the actual details of the image. And I want to unlock the aspect ratio. I want to change its dimension so that I can keep it at 2, but then I can change the width to 6. Because if I don't have that unlocked, when I change the 6, it's going to automatically realign the height. So that's how I want it to look. So there we go. I'm happy with that. Is there any other feature that we want? So we want those dimensions, and it must be placed on the right side of the merged cell. So we want it on the right-hand side. So the right-hand side of the merged cell. So I'll just move it over there. So there we go. So there's our picture. So now let's go to 3.2. Use a spreadsheet feature so that all the contents in row 2 is visible. So we're going to come here, and you can see in row 2, you can't read all those headings. So we want to be able to see them. So that means we want to wrap the text. So if I come over here, we don't see the option over here. I think that is the wrap text option. You could also have right-clicked on them and gone to format, come here to alignment, and then click wrap the text as well, and that would have done it as well. So there we can do that. We probably need to adjust the size of these a little bit just so that we can see all the text. I'm just double click there. There we go. So now we can see that all the values. There we go. That's much better. It's only for 1 mark, so I'm assuming it's just the wrap text. Ensure all the headings in row 1 and 2 remain visible when scrolling down the worksheet. So that means when I scroll down, these two must remain the same, which means these two rows must be frozen. So when I come here to view and I come here to freeze panes, now we don't want to freeze the top row or the first column, we want to freeze panes. So what I'll do is everything above wherever my selected block is will be frozen. So if I click over here, everything above that block will be frozen. If I click on that, it'll just be the first one, but I've clicked there in row 3 and now I go to freeze panes and freeze panes completely. Everything above it will remain there. If I scroll down, you see row 1 and 2 remain there. It always goes 1, 2 and then the rest. So that's what I want to do for that one. So row 1 and 2 remain visible when scrolling. That's the freeze pane option. Then 3.4, insert a function in C42. So let's go find C42. There's C. Let's go all the way down to 42. There we go. And we want to determine the number of countries used in this study. So we want to find the number. So there's all the countries. We want to count how many there are. Now we are counting words, so that means we can't use a count function. We must use count A. So equals count A, because that counts all the text, all the fields that contain something that are not blank. So I'm going to select from that cell, go all the way to the top there, select all the country names. We're going to close our brackets and then press enter, and there are 38 countries in this list. 3.5, use a spreadsheet feature to determine the 5 countries with the highest net household adjustment in disposable income. Oh, that's a lot of words. Format these names with the red font color. So we want to change the color of the font of the 5 countries with the highest. Okay, so that sounds like conditional formatting. So we are looking at this net household. So I'm select that text. Let's go select all of that text. We're looking at this text. We are going to determine the 5 countries. So we're going to highlight that text and format the names with the red. So we want the top 5 of them. So we're going to come here to conditional formatting, which is under here on home. Go to conditional formatting, and we want now there's a whole bunch of, let's go to more rules. We're going to want a new one. I want the top 5. I want the top 5 of them. If you remember, we must determine whether they want the fill or the font to be changed. So here they say format these with red font. So we don't want to change the fill. We want to change the font of them. So we come here, the font color must be changed to red, and we're going to click OK. So the top 5, let's click OK. So there should be only 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those do look like the top 5. So those 5 have been highlighted. Now 3.6, in cell C44, let's go back down here to C44. Determine the second highest value of that net household financial wealth. Ooh, these words are long. The second highest, not the highest. The highest would be the max. So for the second highest, we're going to use the large function. So we want the net household financial wealth, that value there. So we're going to say equals large, open bracket, and then select the values that we want to look at. So we want to look at all of these values, which is the net household financial wealth. That's column C. Then we're going to put a comma, and now we're going to put which one we want to find. The second largest or the third largest. In this case, the second. So we put a 2 for the second largest. And I'm going to press enter after I close the brackets. And that is the second largest net household financial wealth. 3.7, the country's ability to fight food shortages are influenced by the insecurities in the labor market. Countries with a volatile labor market will suffer. In cell C46, which we're going to just scroll down a bit further down over here. In cell C46, use the criteria below to determine the status of South Africa. Is the status of South Africa volatile or fair? So that's a hint. So maybe we need to say the words volatile or fair. It's quite a bit of marks. So let's just think about this. So countries whose insecurity is more than and equal to the average of all countries, their labor is considered to be volatile, but those that are less are fair. So there's 2 options. So that tells me that this is an if statement, and we're making an if statement based on South Africa's value. Labor market is more than and equal to the average of all the countries. So if I come here, we're looking at the labor market entry. So we want, if SA, we want to say the word volatile if it's below the average, and we'll say fair if it is above the average. So let's go build our if statement. So we're going to say equals if South Africa's value, so we got to find South Africa. There's South Africa. If South Africa's value, insecurity for the labor market, so there we go. There's South Africa's value. If E35, no, it's E34, if that's South Africa's value, if that value has greater than equal to, make sure you include equal to, because it says if it is more than and equal to, so we must include the equal to. If it's more than the average of all of them, so I'm going to type in the word average. of all of them. So I'm going to select all of these values in column E. So select all of them. If it's more than the average of everyone, that's my question. If that is true, then I want to say the word that it is. Then if you come over here, you'll see that it is considered to be volatile. If it's more than equal to, it's volatile. If it's less, it's fair. So this is if it's more than. So then we want the words volatile in double quotes because we're displaying text. I'll probably put a capital V there just to be fancy. And then I'm going to put a comma for what must it display if it's not greater than equal to the average. Then I'll put double quote the word fair. So if the value for South Africa is greater than equal to the average of all the values, display the word volatile. If it's not that, it'll display the word fair. Let's press enter. So South Africa is considered volatile. You could have also broken this up. You could have maybe over here worked out the average and then over here said if E34 is greater than equal to that particular block which has the average in it, you could have done that as well. So there we go. I think that is correct for the 6 marks. So we've got an if statement with the function inside of the if statement. So there we go. That makes sense for 6 marks. So let's move on to the next one. 3.8. Use a spreadsheet function to insert any number between 1 and 20 in F6. So we're going to come here to F6. So let's go up to F6. So there's F6. We're going to put a random number between 1 and 20. So we're going to use the random function. Now equals rand. Rand just generates a decimal number. We want a rand between. So we can say rand between. And we want, what is the bottom, the lowest value that we want? We want a 1. And when they say the words between 1 and 20, that normally doesn't include, so we just want to say between the 1 comma and the 20. So those are my upper value and my lower. If you saw here, it actually tells you the bottom value and the top value. So my bottom value must be a 1, between 1 and 20. Those must be my rand between option. Enter. So there we go. You can see it's 17. And if I type something over here, it'll change it every single time. So it's always going to be changing. 3.9. Insert a function in C48. So let's go down to C48. Let's go all the way down here. Yeah, C48. Determine the number of countries whose citizens have a life expectancy of 60 years and above. So 60 and above means greater than equal to 60. So we want to determine the number. So we are counting how many countries. So when you are counting, it should be for the COUNTIF and then the 2 arguments. That's why it's 3 marks. So let's come over here. We are looking at the life expectancy. So we want those that are 60 or more. So I'm going to say equals count based on a condition. So that's count if. We first look at our range. We want to look at all the life expectancy. So I'm going to come over here and select from the bottom all the way to the top for the life expectancy from K3 to K40. And then I'm going to say comma, what are we looking for? For those that are greater than equal to 60. But remember, with a count if, your criteria must be in double quotes. So make sure that you put double quotes around the entire criteria and make sure that we include 60 because the question did say 60 and above. So that means including 60. Press enter and there we go. 37 is our answer. Then in cell 01, so we've got to go all the way up to 01, which is right over there. We didn't even have to scroll for that. So let's come over here. 01, insert the date in here, 2019, on which the Food Day was commemorated. The date must be a long date type. If you remember from our scenario, right on the top of page 1, you can see that it's the 16th of October, so 16th of the 10th month. So we want to insert the 16th of the 10th month in 2019, but then we want it as a long date type. So that's a little bit tricky. So if you right click on a cell, for example, and you want to format the cells, you can format it to a date, but there's no specification of what type it is. That's probably the long date type. It's probably what they're looking for, but you can also click on it and come over here to this part here. If we click over there, you can specify it to be a long date type in the beginning. So I'm going to select that option and then we're going to type in the date. So that's 2019. It's normally the year first. And then we're going to type in October/16. Press enter and there you can see it's written it out in full. Most of the time it puts it year, then month, then day. If you're not too sure, you can always click on a cell and go equal today, open bracket, close bracket, and you can see the format of your computer. So my one at the moment says year, then month, then day. If yours is different, then just put that in the right format and it'll convert it to a long date if you have set it to a long date. So just remember that when you are unsure about which format to use for your exam. It should be specified in the instructions, but just in case you aren't sure. Then 3.11. The number of years expected in education have been mistakenly inserted in O34. So let's go to O34. Let's go. There it is over there. Use the spreadsheet feature to insert this in the correct cell M34. So that cell's supposed to be over there. It is quite an interesting question of what they're trying to, I don't know if they mean we must just drag it there, but they're saying they use a spreadsheet feature, in other words, some sort of functional feature to insert this in M40. So I'm assuming maybe we must leave it there, but we must have this block refer to that block. So I'm just going to say equals that block, and then that way the 18 is now in the right place there. It's just if something happens to that, this will then update accordingly. So I think that's what they want. So let's move on to the next question. 3.12, use a function in C50. So we're going to scroll down to C50 again over there. There it is. Determine the total amount paid by all countries starting with the letter S. The total amount paid. So we want to sum all these amount paid. So it's 4 marks. So you know it's a sum if. Count ifs tend to be 3. Sum ifs tend to be 4. We want to total the amount paid, but only those where the countries have an S in it. So over here, we're going to say equals sum if. Where are we looking at first? We want to look at the names of the countries. So the names of the countries is in the A block. So let's go select all the country names. We're going to come here. It's in column A. Select all of these countries all the way up to there. Those countries, A3 to A40. We want to look there, comma, what is my criteria? Now you might go, S is my criteria, but that's incorrect. That's going to find all the countries that equal S exactly. And there's no country that is S exactly. We want it to be S with something after it. So for that, we're going to use a wildcard. And wildcard for anything, any text is a star. So if I say S star, that means there must be an S and then anything after the S. But remember, our criteria, like we did with COUNTIF, must be in double quote. So we put that in double quote. So it's S star. So that's my criteria. Then I'm going to put a comma there. And now what are we summing? They said we must sum the total amount paid. So where is that? The total amount paid. And the only one that I can see that refers to the amount is this column N. So I'm going to refer to this column. So let's go and select all of these values over here. So let's scroll down and stop there. So your 3 to 40 should match your 3 to 40 there. It should at least be the same number of blocks, for example, because we're referring from there. If we find a match, we move across over here. So those should match. So look in the A column. If it starts with an S, S star, then sum the value in N. So I think that's what they're referring to. And so there we go. There's our answer for that. So that's the values. That's the amount I'm assuming they're referring to with regard to amount paid. 313. We're nearly there, grade 11s. There's only 3 more questions. 313. The amount used by each worker per month in South Africa is stored in N34. So let's go to N34. N34. There we go. That is the total amount per worker and is in US dollars. NC52 converts the amount to South African currency. The exchange rate is stored in B52. So let's go down to B52. So there's the exchange rate. We want to convert the value that was in N34 to Rand. So we're going to say equals the value. You can go click on the block, but we know that it's N34 because they told us that. And we're going to multiply that by the exchange rate over here and press enter. Just let's make sure of a couple of things. We want to convert it to rands. So we used N34, we used B52. So that's correct. And we make sure that that is in rands, and that is correct. Okay, if it wasn't changed to currency, then you can always right click on it, format it, and then you could have changed which symbol it was referring to. So we want it to be in rands. So then let's move on to 3.14. In cell C54, calculate the percentage of the amount used by South Africa workers per month compared to the amount per month used by all workers. So that's in this block over here. So we've already know that N34 is the amount for South Africa, but we want to compare what that value is in relation to all of the workers. So when we talk about a percentage, if you think about a test, your percentage is the number of marks you got divided by the total number of marks. That's what you're looking for divided by how many things there are in total. So here we are looking for South Africa in comparison to everyone. So we want to then say it's going to equal to N34. That's the South African block. If you're not too sure, you can go click on it. Divided by how many there are in total for all of the amount paid. So that means we're going to add all those amount paid up. So we're going to sum from the bottom block of N all the way up until the top one. So that's going to be the ratio of South Africa in comparison to everyone. So let's press enter. So we get this 0.2, but that's not a percentage. Calculate the percentage. Now there's a couple of ways of doing this so that it's not worked in rands. We want the percentage. It needs to not be in rands. So we can either change that to a percentage by clicking on the percentage sign. You could have done that. So it's 2% of everyone. Another way of doing it is if we formatted that to just a general number, but then if you do that, you must remember to multiply it by 100 to get the percentage. So then it's 2.2%. So those are normally the two options they allow, either making it a percentage or times it by 100, but we would have to change that format to a number. We don't want it to be 2.2 rand is the percentage. Percentage is not rands. And the final one, which is a graph. Amongst the countries used in the study are the BRICS countries, namely Brazil, Russia, South Africa, and UK. Create an appropriate chart that will display the educational attachment of the adult working age, these words are long, and expected years in education. So we want it based on particular countries. We want it based on educational column over here, and the expected years in education. I think those were the two values that they were referring to. So they wanted to create a chart. They mentioned the BRICS countries. They mentioned Brazil, Russia, South Africa, UK. I'm not sure if they want us only to use those countries. I've looked ahead at the memo. They don't actually give a mark for that allocation. Because if you read here, create a chart that will display that. They don't mention of those particular countries. So we're going to select all of the educational ones and the expected years. Those are the two columns that we want to refer to. But if they wanted specific countries, then you would have to select Russia and click on just Russia's values by pressing Control, and then South Africa, and then South Africa's values. That's if they wanted just those particular countries. I'm not sure if that's what they want. Looking at the memo, it's not very clear if that's what they want. It seems like they don't mention it when they say create a chart. They don't mention anything about just those countries. So let's do everyone. So we're going to first select the data. So let's select these two blocks. We want all those two blocks, but we also want the countries' names when we refer to this. So I'm going to come here and select that. I'm going to press Control on my keyboard and select it. So that way I can separate my data quite nicely. So there we go. So there's all the data selected. We've got the names and we've got the education attainment and we've got the expected years in education. And we want to create a chart from it. They don't tell me what type of chart to do there. I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of bar chart or column chart. Add an appropriate title above the chart. There's going to be two axes. That tells me that it's probably not a pie chart. Let's come over here. We're going to go insert a chart. We want to do a column chart. So let's go select that one. So we can see all the values over there. That's great. It's quite big, as you can see. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's see what else they ask us. Add an appropriate title above the graph. Because it's dealing with education, I'm going to just give it an appropriate title. We could actually just use that as the entire title. So details about education, maybe. I'm going to change that. They don't give me very clear details. Normally in exam, they'll give you a diagram of the chart so you know exactly what you want to change it to. So I'm just say details about education. I think that's an appropriate title for the chart. And then name both axes. So if I come over here, both axes should have a name, should have a title. So over here, if we click on the chart, we can come here to give axes titles. So we want to name both the axes. So I know that this axis at the bottom, the x-axis, that horizontal one, primary horizontal one, that's going to be the countries. So I'm just going to list, these are the countries. And for the vertical one, it's to do with the years or the number. So it's age or years. So it's got something to do with years. So I'm going to come over here and click on the chart axes. We're going to put a vertical one in, and that one, these refer to the number of years. So I'm going to select that and say years as my chart title. So that's both axes named. Rename both the series with an appropriate heading. You'll see here at the bottom, the series needs an appropriate heading. Obviously the blue one is the bigger number, which I think is the adult working age. And then the small one is the years in education. So that's the orange one. If I right click on the chart and we want to format the data, not the chart area, we want to format the data or select the data. That might be a better option. Here we can see the series. I'm going to edit series 1 and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it the name of adult working age, because that's what it says over there. Click OK. That's for the blue one, and you can see it's changed there. And then the series 2, I'm going to edit that to years in education. You could have probably written all of those values. You could have even selected those blocks if you wanted to. That might have been a good option as well. So you could have actually gone and edit it and said, you know, that must actually equal to that block over there. So whatever's in that text will be the text over there. And we could have done the same for this one as well if we wanted to say, hey, it must equal to whatever's in that block. Okay, so then we've got the nice little details there. That's appropriate. Both series named with appropriate headings. We've done that. We click OK. We named both the series correctly. Now we want to fill the plot area with image 3 pot. So the plot area. So that's this area at the back. If I click over there, right click, you can see format plot area, which is what I want to do. I want to format it. I want to fill it with a picture. So I'm going to click on picture and I'm going to insert a picture from a file, and it's the 3 pot one, which is that's the one that we want. I'm going to click on insert, and there you can see the picture is behind all the text. So we've done that. Add the data callout to the highest bar and fill this bar with a solid purple color. So we're going to come here, which is the highest bar. I think that is 94. That one obviously looks like it's the highest one. So I'm going to click on that one. So if I click on that, you see all of them are selected. But if I click on that one again, now it's just that one selected. So we want to add a data callout to that one. So I'm going to add here. We want to add a data callout. So if I come over here to data labels and then come over here, there you can see data callout. So we've selected that one. So if we just click on that, you can see that it's got this callout, but it's just to that one because we selected. If you click away, if you click on one of them, it selects all of them. But if you want one particular one, then you must click on just that one again. So we're still working, with this one. And we want to change the fill of it to purple. So I'm going to right click on that one and go format this data point. And I want it to have a fill. I don't know why this is still in the way, to purple. Now, if you look there, there is the purple color. So if I click purple there, you'll see just that one has changed. So we've done the highest bar callout and we've changed it to a solid fill color, and use a spreadsheet feature to move the graph to a new tab sheet called graph. So we've done everything, I think, over there. I'm going to close that. We're going to click on the chart, come here to chart design, and we can move the chart, which I want to a new sheet, which we're going to call graph. Okay, and here we've got our chart and a brand new worksheet. So there we go. I think that's all done. I think we've done all the features, so let's just double check. Created a chart, used the data. We added an appropriate title. We named both axes. We renamed both the series with an appropriate heading. We put that picture at the back. We did a call out in purple and we moved it. I think that's correct. If they wanted, for example, if you want to do just the countries that are involved, I'm just going to show you what to do for that. Then you would just select those countries. So if we want Brazil, so we click Brazil, press there, press Control and select their 2 values. We're going to come down to Russia, click on Russia and select their 2 values. We're going to come to South Africa, press Control, select their 2 values, keeping Control down, and then we want the UK. So I click on the UK and select their 2 values. And by doing those and then creating a chart, inserting a chart, let's go do that one. That's how you would have done just those countries. So I think if you did it that way, you would have gotten the marks as well, because they weren't very specific, but that's how you can do it if they are mentioned that you must only use those 4 countries. So that would have been the data, and then you could have done the exact same changes that we did to this one. So that's hopefully the rest of the question done. It's done 57 marks, quite long, but hopefully you got all your Excel questions. We're now going to move on to question 4, which is the database question. Link is in the video description. If you don't want to miss an update, make sure you subscribe to @Mr. IT and Cat. Make sure you also subscribe to @Mr. Computer Terms for some theory work, @Mr. Long Education, our TikTok handle. And remember, don't do it the long way, do it the Mr. Long way.